never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer. Fine.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Welcome to the first weekend in the month of June. Is the SEC going to go to a 9-game football conference schedule? We'll talk about that coming up here in a few minutes. As always, any thoughts on it, please feel free to let me know. I enjoy reading your comments, but not only that, the more you comment and the more you like, share, and subscribe, the more you help the channel. So please comment often. I would greatly appreciate it. But if you missed all the racing action from this past weekend, you missed a full weekend of racing. So full, I'm not even going to talk about the NASCAR Truck Series race we had because there was so much other action in the racing world, and it actually didn't wrap up until almost Tuesday morning because the Xfinity race got rained out Saturday, and then the Cup race got rained out Sunday, and then the Xfinity race didn't start again until noon on Monday, and then after 47 laps, they got stopped again because of rain, and then the Sunday scheduled Coke 600 took place Monday afternoon around 3:30 Eastern time, and then when it finished, it was almost 9 o'clock. Then they finished the Xfinity Series race. Sunday morning, Formula One from Monaco, Max Verstappen came home with the win, followed by Fernando Alonso, Esteban Ocon, Lewis Hamilton, and George Russell. And then Sunday at noon Eastern time, we had the Indianapolis 500. Joseph Newgarden came home with the win, followed by Marcus Ericsson, Santino Ferrucci, Alex Palou, Alexander Rossi, Scott Dixon, Takuma Sato, Connor Daly, Colton Herta, and Rinus VeeKay rounded out the top 10 in the Indy 500. When the Xfinity Series Alsco 300 finally got completed, Justin Allgaier came home with the win, followed by John Nemechek, Cole Custer, Austin Hill, Ty Gibbs, Parker Retzloff, Jeb Burton, Carson Hocevar, Brandon Jones, and Sammy Smith rounded out the top 10. And then in the Coca-Cola 600, Ryan Blaney got his 8th career win, but his first win since Daytona back in August of 2021. William Byron, 2nd. Martin Truex Jr., 3rd. Darrell Wallace Jr., 4th. And Tyler Reddick rounded out the top 5. Kyle Busch, 6th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 7th. Chris Buescher, 8th. Austin Dillon, 9th. And Zane Smith, 10th. And if you missed the Coke 600, then you didn't see Chase Elliott intentionally wreck Denny Hamlin. And then word came out on Tuesday that Chase Elliott was going to be suspended for the race this weekend. And it's really the only choice you have because it was obvious it was intentional. But the way he did it could cause somebody, including yourself, to get seriously injured. But what made it worse was when Chase was interviewed, he tried to come out and say it was an accident when everybody could see it was intentional. If you're going to do it, just come out and say, yeah, I did it. Don't make us all look stupid and feel stupid by trying to tell us it was an accident when we all know it was intentional. So Chase Elliott suspended for the race this weekend. I think he feels pressure because since he got injured, he missed 6 races. So right now he's sitting about 30th in the points. So if he doesn't win a race, he's going to need to finish pretty much top 10 in every race going forward to make the playoffs. But as many road courses as they go to, I think he'll win one somewhere. And then Wednesday, word came down that Chase Briscoe was penalized 120 points. And his crew chief was suspended, I believe, 6 races for an illegal part they used in the race this past Sunday. And what's even worse is that their car was pitiful. So you would think if you're going to cheat, you would at least be decent. Chase Briscoe was awful. But the whole Stewart-Haas faction right now is struggling big time. But it's funny now because now you have the drivers coming out and complaining about all these illegal parts and illegal things that NASCAR is finding. But the reason why NASCAR has cracked down on this is because a few years back, the drivers came out and said, hey, we've got too many teams that we know are cheating, and we know they're using illegal parts. We want NASCAR to crack down more on this and make sure we have an even playing field. So NASCAR listened, and now they've cracked down on it. So now we have an even playing field, and now you have drivers complaining that they're being caught because they're cheating. So it makes no sense whatsoever. But it used to be they checked your car when you arrived at the racetrack, and they checked your car as you were leaving the racetrack. But now they check your car when you get there. And then if you practice, every time you practice, they check your car. After qualifying, they check your car. And then after the race, instead of having 1 post-race inspection, each car has about 5 post-race inspections. So if you have something illegal anywhere in or around your car, they're going to find it. But is the SEC going to a 9-game schedule? Well, the answer is nobody knows. Word came down yesterday that it looks like the SEC is going to leave the SEC meetings that they're currently having right now without making a decision. And they're saying they're going to come back later on and vote. Now, how much later on is, nobody knows, but it's pitiful that we've got people all around the world sitting down having discussions over serious things and being able to reach a conclusion and vote on it, but you've got a few coaches that can't decide on an 8 or 9 game conference schedule. It's not that complicated. Yes, if you want 9, no if you don't want 9, but for some reason they're having a hard time with it, and they're giving you all kinds of weird, stupid, lame excuses as to why they want to stay with 8. Just come out and say, we want to stay with 8. There's no reason to give some lame, stupid excuse. Just say, hey, we want to stay with 8. There's nothing wrong with that. And if they want to stay with 8, you can't blame them, because if you go to 9, you're going to lose one of your powder puff games that you play. Well, you've got a lot bigger chance of losing a conference game even if it's one of the bottom of the barrel conference teams, than you do playing a group of 5 powder puff team. And of course, you want to win. So there's nothing wrong with staying at 8 and playing one extra powder puff game. Just come out and say that. But one of the coaches supposedly said, well, we want to stay with 8 because ESPN's not going to offer us more money to play a 9th conference game. Well, if they didn't put in their contract that they're going to pay you so much for 8 conference games, but pay you so much more for 9, then you shouldn't expect that. So to me, it sounds like coaches just reaching, trying to find excuses as to why they want to stay with 8. Just say, hey, we're going to stick with 8. But supposedly now they're going to leave the meetings undecided and come back later with the vote. Now, as I said, no word on how much later on is, but I think at the end of the day, they're going to stick with 8, because if you listen to what some of the coaches are saying without coming out and saying one way or the other, it sounds like the majority of them are in favor of sticking with 8. So I think that's what they'll do. But Eli Drinkwitz, the coach at Missouri, I've mentioned before here on the channel that I think he's going to be a good coach if Missouri gives him time, but he's a weird cat. Earlier this week, it might have been on Tuesday, he was complaining about all the name, image, likeness stuff and saying that I believe it's his brother-in-law is a pediatrician, and he was trying to explain all the tough, hard work his brother-in-law does, and said that basically it ain't right that these football players are making more than his brother-in-law who's a pediatrician. But he's right, they are making more, but to most fans, it's gonna come across as you're complaining about what the players are making when you make just as much as they're making. If your brother-in-law needs some money, why don't you take some of your $6 million salary and help him out? That's the way most fans are going to look at it. You can't be sitting here making just as much money as the players are making and complaining that somebody you know needs some money. Well, if you've got the money and somebody you know needs some money, give them some money. I get what he was trying to say, and I agree that the players that have these millions and millions of dollars in name, image, likeness are making way too much money. But when a coach that makes $6 million a year, that so far hasn't accomplished a dadgum thing, is complaining, to most people it comes across as, hey, you make what they make, shut your mouth. So he said that, I believe it was on Tuesday. So get any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. Homes for Our Troops is a publicly funded 501c nonprofit organization that builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans. Since the 2004 inception, nearly 90 cents of every dollar spent has gone directly to our program services for veterans. Visit at hfotusa.org. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. My friend said we might go snorkeling this weekend, but I'm not holding my breath. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.